All right. What's going on? It's been a while. Been a minute. Some stuff happened in our country. You know, I listen. I don't get political here. I don't talk about politics, but I needed a few days to comprehend what would happen. Either way, we're back, and it's time to focus on the Knicks. This Knicks run. The guys they have under contract are all under contract for the next 4 years, so it checks out. They better win the championship this next 4 years. That's all I'm saying. But the Knicks, as a team right now at 3-4, do not look like who they were last year, especially in January, and who we expected them to be this season. Of course, championship aspirations. They make two major trades in the offseason. One, you've got high expectations. Two, at the exact same time, you shouldn't expect these guys to automatically mesh and gel at the same time. Even though, and with all that being said, there still are some major concerns with this team, specifically on the defensive end. There's some on the offensive end as well, but those kind of only boil down to one player, and that's Jalen Brunson. We're going to get to that. But there is a lack of identity to this team right now, and it takes time. I get it. I understand. That's why in this title, it's what's wrong with the Knicks, why I'm not panicking yet. I'm not. Let me just preface by saying this. Do I think this Knicks team is not built for a championship based off what we've seen? No. I think they are built for a championship. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to have a rush to judgment here when it comes to this Knicks team, when it comes to what we're seeing down the stretch of these games in which the Knicks last year were able to pull off so many of them. Now they are imploding, and it doesn't look good. Don't get me wrong. It's not good, and it's not a good sign. And I've had concerns with the Towns trade since it went down. I still don't understand why the Knicks had to make it when they did. Just shows you how much Isaiah Hartenstein leaving and Mitchell Robinson being injured screwed this team. I digress. Let's hope that this doesn't become a problem in the future. Either way, this Knicks team, as it stands, at 3-4, has some major work to do. There is a lack of continuity when it comes to the performances that they are getting from their main guys on the offensive end. You lose a game like the one they did to the Cavs about a week ago. Cavs still undefeated. The Knicks lost by 6 points. They blew the game in the fourth quarter. And that game, Karl-Anthony Towns only had 13 points. And they lost the game. But where this team stands right now, they need great performances from all their guys on a night-by-night basis if they want to win games. Because the defense as it stands just is not there. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges still have not figured out what to do on these ball screens. The lack of switching. The communication is just not there. And again, it will take some time. That's why I'm not losing my mind. But I'm here to discuss because, I'm a Knicks fan. You know that. I talk about the Knicks a lot. I watch all these games, and I don't like what I'm seeing. And I know out there, if you're listening and watching, I know I got 0 people on this, but if you are going to listen and watch this at a later point, you probably feel the exact same way too. And there are a lot of people in Knicks land, calling for Jalen Brunson's head. I think flipping out too much about this situation. It's frustrating, and I think there are heightened emotions based off what the other stuff that's going on in this country and whatnot. But either way, people are looking for a reprieve, and they had those expectations going into this season. The Knicks would compete for a championship. There was no guarantee that this team would put it together immediately. There was no guarantee the Knicks would look like a championship team 2 weeks into the season. They don't look anything like it. A very preventable loss last night to the Atlanta Hawks. A team that's very young. A team that's missing 2 of its top players. And yet the Knicks still lose. And there are a bunch of factors behind that. One, the number one thing, the reason why they lost that game last night was Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, as a superstar player, and I saw this point made, and it does make sense, and I do think about it a lot, is the fact that with the Knicks losing Hartenstein and trading away Julius Randle and bringing in Karl-Anthony Towns, the Knicks have lost some really good screeners. Karl-Anthony Towns is not doing a good enough job setting screens to free up Jalen Brunson, get him downhill, and get him to his spots, to allow him to be able to create for himself. Jalen Brunson, as an undersized guard, as someone who does not have the athleticism to get past people just based off speed, pure speed and agility, is having a lot of trouble creating space for himself. So instead of allowing other players to take over, the Knicks do have offensive options. There's no lack of offensive options in that starting lineup. Instead of allowing these guys to take over and do what they do best, Jalen Brunson is forcing this and forcing things upon himself and upon the team, trying to make things happen where they're not there. The Knicks are going to face this issue against every team, majority of teams in the NBA, that now have a lot of lengthy wings who play good defense, good solid defense. There's too much talent in this league. That's another story for another day. That's why I think they need to expand immediately. There was a lot of talent in this league. Guys that can guard 1 through 4. Some guys that can guard 1 through 5. And those are the types of guys that Jalen Brunson is seeing on defense. With him on offense, facing guys on defense. And you could say, oh, Bryce, look at the game against the Pistons where he was extremely efficient. You want to know who was guarding him the majority of that game? Malik Beasley. Objectively a terrible defender. So Jalen Brunson will feast. He will eat against terrible defenders, but you put better defenders on him, he's not been able to get his way. And instead of sitting in the corner, allowing the defense to watch out on him because he's Jalen Brunson, he could take over at any point in the game and allow other guys to take over, he has been too much forcing things upon this team. He's the ball way too much. He's not allowing Karl-Anthony Towns to do his thing. I cannot. This doesn't make any sense. Is it because of the anti-Trump sentiment, Elon? Is that why it's 0 viewers? Is that why? I don't know. But we're going to keep going on. If you're just joining now, I can't see it. Maybe I've got viewers there somewhere. I don't know. I'm Bryce Kelman talking about the Knicks. Maybe I'm washed. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing here. This Knicks team needs to find a new identity. You know what their identity was last year? Hard-nosed, physical, bruising defense. Put you on your ass. You know you're going to be leaving the arena with bruises up and down. You know you're going to have to take an ice pack to whatever affected area you have game by game when you play the Knicks. That's not this team anymore. The defense is not there. The rebounding is not there. The rebounding has been catastrophic for the Knicks. And you look at a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, the last 2 games, 16 rebounds against the Hawks, of course they lost, and 19 rebounds against the Rockets, of course they lost that game too. The Knicks, outside of Karl-Anthony Towns, are not getting good enough rebounding. And that was their calling card last year. That was one of the biggest things they had going for them. Is they constantly out-rebounded you. I did the stats. I did the math on this. And the Knicks, listen to this. I tweeted this out the other day. And again, I get no engagement on anything. It makes no sense. I can't understand it. For the life of me. And of course, I can't find it. The Knicks last year, I remember. Don't worry. The Knicks last year out-rebounded their opponents in 60 of the 82 games this season. 60. This is not the same team on the boards. I don't foresee this as something the Knicks will be able to figure out. Yes, they'll be able to figure out the defensive cohesion, the switching, the rotations, the hedging. They will be able to figure all that minutia out. Their coach is Tom Thibodeau. They will figure it out. I have no doubt that they will. But I'm concerned with the rebound. And hopefully when Precious Achiuwa comes back, he's the guy who could play 15, 20 minutes and pull down rebounds like he was able to do last year. Even though the majority of the time he played, he was alongside Isaiah Hartenstein. Listen, you lost out on Hartenstein. You had to pivot this offseason. You panicked over Mitch not playing. You were left with no choice. You went out and you acquired Karl-Anthony Towns. You need to figure out how to rebound better. If it means going out and trading for someone, I don't know what they'd give up. But it looks like the Knicks might be screwed here unless they're able to figure out a different identity. They need to be more cohesive on both sides of the ball. Obviously, the defensive side, but offense. Listen, you're getting a generational performance this season out of Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns is shooting 57% from 3, and you're 3-4. Your second option is lights out from deep. Lights out from deep. And of course, he hasn't been a high volume 3-point shooter by any means until last night. You got to let your other guys thrive. Another huge thing that I see here, Mikal Bridges is a non-factor in fourth quarters. He's averaging 2.6 points in fourth quarters this season. On just over 2 shots each fourth quarter. You acquired this guy. You gave up all that you did to get Mikal Bridges. 5, 6 first-round picks. Even the Bucks pick, that looks like it's going to be a potential lottery pick. It's only 1 to 4 protected. You trade for Mikal Bridges to be the number 3 option on your team. And he's barely getting up more than 2 shots every fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson's still forcing 5 shots every fourth quarter. Karl-Anthony Towns is not getting. It's just like it's mind-boggling to me. The lack of parity they have when it comes to offensive production and offensive volume. Mikal Bridges needs to be more involved. OG Anunoby last night, lights out from 3. Lights out. The Knicks have a 5-point lead with just under 3 minutes to go. They lose the game because they had terrible offensive possession after terrible offensive possession. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because Jalen Brunson was forcing things. You need to get other guys involved. There will be situations, I'd say, in 2 of every 3 games where Jalen Brunson, down the stretch of a game or throughout the course of a game, will be matched up against a lengthy, solid defender and other defenders behind him to help switch. Again, there are a lot of guys in this league who can now guard 1 through 4 very easily. The Knicks will face that. Maybe not 2 of every 3 games. Maybe every other game. But that will be a problem. Jalen Brunson will not be matched up against Malik Beasley every game like he was against the Pistons. So in that case, you got to let other guys win games. You got to let it happen. And you could say to me, oh, Bryce, look what they're doing in terms of offensive production. Look at every starter with 10 plus minutes, 10 plus points per game. You want to know why? What other options do they have? With this pseudo 7 to 8 man rotation. They don't have depth. They have none. And it's not like when Precious Achiuwa comes back, that's going to change. He's just going to eat into what Jericho Sims was playing in those minutes. And yes, you'll trust Precious to play a little bit more than Jericho Sims, who should not be playing any minutes on a basketball court in the NBA in the year 2024. He's not a good player. Not a good player. He gives you terrible minutes. Just awful. No offensive output whatsoever. And that's what we've seen over the course of his career. He hasn't grown anything offensively. He has not grown, it appears, at all offensively. So, listen. Where we are right now is a team at 3-4 who's got all the talent in the world to gel and to become a cohesive unit and to find a new identity, whatever that may be. That is why I'm not concerned. That is why I'm not sitting here and calling the season over. They've got all the talent in the world to make this happen, to become what all of us thought they'd be. If it doesn't happen, and if this continues throughout the course of the season, and we see just how beneficial Isaiah Hartenstein was to the production of Jalen Brunson, and we see what Karl-Anthony Towns is bringing this team, and if it's not enough, then you could start questioning things. I'm not at that point yet. I'm frustrated. I'm upset watching this team on a nightly basis. It's only been 7 games. They just traded for Karl-Anthony Towns right before training camp. During training camp. They've had no time. I mean, it's been a month and 8 days since they traded for a month and 9 days since they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. Give it some time. So again, there's so much more that you could say about this team. There's some things that I'm not going to get to. It's in the fact that I have 0 viewers. If you're listening to this, let me know. This isn't working. The algorithm might be effed up. But either way, I mean, I think this is an issue, but it's nothing to panic about yet. Like, people are well within their right to be upset. about this team and how they look. Of course, with championship aspirations, yes. You have every right to say whatever you want about this team. But that's going to do it. I don't, you know what? I don't get it. I don't understand. 0 viewers. Thanks, Elon. Stupid algorithm. But if you're watching this after, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please drop a follow. I tweet about the Knicks, talk about the Knicks. I sometimes TikTok about the New York sports teams. I also do One Giant Step with Sean Morash of WFN, of Evan and Tiki. Every Monday, Sunday night, we react to the game. And then we do a little preview Thursday, Friday. So keep an eye out on that. We're dropping one tomorrow morning on what is setting up to be a barn burner between the Giants and the Panthers in Germany on Sunday morning at 9. So stay tuned for that. Giants talk, not over yet. Season over, but good talk, good sports talk, not over yet. So for the 0 people who tune into this, thank you for joining, and I will speak to you all very soon. Hey, also, one last thing. I'm going to do something on the Yankees, talk about, my ideal offseason, considering the fact the Yankees offseason, yes, qualifying offers, whatever, that's out of the way. I want to talk about the real stuff, get into the nitty-gritty, about what the future of this team is, about how Brian Cashman could approach this offseason, but how we could stop enabling idiotic managers and stupid decision makers to derail this team, which won't happen. But I'm going to give you my perfect offseason, and that will be coming very soon. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for One Giant Step. Until next time, I'm Bryce Gelman. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you then.